All right, so in terms of thumbnailing, there are two main approaches. The first approach is just kind of exploring, and you have no idea where you're headed with the design, you're just having fun. Versus the other approach, which is the designer approach. And for the designer approach, you're given a prompt, you're given maybe certain descriptions from the client, and you have to do something specific. You cannot just go to the client, hey, remember that you asked for a zebra? Here's a rhino. It doesn't work that way. So with the designer approach, you have to know first what you are doing. In advance, okay? This is the most important part, because again, you are a designer. You're not an explorer of some sort. So, with that in mind, you need to know beforehand, and I'm going to be using, for instance, this mood board here. And I'm going to be using this mood board here, so just kind of as a reference. In fact, I can just copy it, go here and paste, Control T, hit Alt, because with Alt it's gonna draw it back to that center, so it's gonna be easier that way. And what I want to do now is to just do some thumbnailing of something like this, and I would like to do some exploration. So the first thing I would say is that make sure you're comfortable, make sure you're using tools that you really like, make sure you have no distraction. So main general rules: get comfy with your posture, with the lighting in the room or the area that you're in or whatever that is. Use tools that that allow you to express exactly what you're trying to kind of like to draw. Bad sitting area, bad pencil whatsoever, bad digital tablet whatsoever. So avoid all of this. Use proper tools. Decide, have an idea. Have an idea of what you're doing. Again, this is for the designer approach, okay? Because if you don't have an idea, then you're gonna go and create, guess what, blobs of things. And like, oh, I'm exploring, I think it's a bike, maybe it's a dinosaur, right? Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. So I'm gonna go and guess that what I would like to demonstrate with maybe something between it's a mix of rhino and bull and some prehistoric creature, maybe something powerful, something crazy with like horns and exaggerated, something kind of weird with posture. I might also mix it eventually with other animals, but I'm just gonna get started now. And the first thing you want to keep in mind that it's called thumbnail for a reason. It is supposed to be as small as a thumbnail, so keep it small. Although I can draw easily with my shoulder with that extent. This is the extent of my wrist, just to give you a reference, okay? What I'm gonna be drawing is something possibly as small as, this might be too small. Here. Something like this as a starter, and if I felt it extremely small, it's safer to start smaller. This is too small, way too small. It's safer to start small and then enlarge later than going with this approach where it gets really big. For my hand, this is pretty good. but I'm just gonna pressure myself to go with something really small as my thumb. So, well, maybe a little bit bigger. And then just make sure you are focusing on the following. Needs to be solid, needs to be in black, because colors would distract you. If I start to go here, oh, red, it's going to influence your decisions along the way. Okay, solid and black, and don't erase. Suddenly you're gonna feel obsessed about cleaning the edges and all this. Stay loose and free. This is very important here. Have fun. So here's the eraser. Shortcut E on the keyboard for Photoshop. Okay, so and don't zoom in. You're gonna be extremely tempted to zoom in and all this. Also, draw. Yeah, so maybe I'll record a kind of a video of my hand later, but let's say this is the pencil. You can do it traditionally or digitally, however you want. Just make sure that, at least for this assignment, that the result is going to be as clean as digital. So let's say this is the pencil or the digital pen if you must. When you're writing like letters and words and whatsoever, you hold the pencil from here. For thumbnailing, I know this is too technical, but I learned it from the professionals and I know that this is the right way to do it. So that's why I'm kind of nitpicky. Hold the pencil from here, because that's going to give you more of a loose approach of your drawing. You feel free, and also you get to see exactly or better what you're actually drawing. Okay? And don't draw from the shoulder, draw from the wrist. If you're animating, in some cases you draw, in many cases you draw from your shoulder. Okay? But for thumbnailing, you actually need to be chaotically and loosely precise. I have no idea what that means, but describing what's in my head. Okay, so let's now move on to the thumbnailing process. I'm just gonna go and thumbnail what's in my head, and I can almost guarantee to you that I'm gonna fail on many of these. If you're not familiar with the term blank page anxiety, if you are someone who feels like, oh my god, this is scaring me, this is called the blank page anxiety. Typically, if you want to draw something and you feel like kind of having that anxiety, you can always start by drawing a ground. So here's the ground, and then here's the creature, and I'm just sketching here, just giving you an idea, right? Here's the giraffe and all this. So suddenly you feel that there's a ground there that gives you kind of an indication of what you're doing. Okay, so with the blank page anxiety, there's another kind of problem you may have, that is, oh, my hand is kind of not warmed up, which is a pretty valid thing. So I would start making solid shapes. I would also make lines and try to align them in parallel. And then I would cross them, and this is kind of tricky for my right-handed nature, but the point is that you're getting your shoulder if you need it, and wrist, and you're just kind of yourself overall, you know, whether you're left-handed, right-handed, you could be someone who writes and draws with both hands. Yeah, just kind of get started, and then you can draw circles. So yeah, just get your hand warmed up, and just so you can feel also relaxed, because you're losing that anxiety, like, oh my god, there's this page and I'm drawing some stuff, and you know, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so almost, I mean, I would say almost warmed up. I don't really care, because I'm just drawing loosely. When it comes to thumbnailing, I'm not someone who's super fluent, so I don't have that professional pressure of me, having to be perfect with thumbnailing. It's not my career focus, so I'm having fun. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started now. I'll try to describe what's in my head. So again, I'll just focus on an area like this. I can start with the ground, and let's say I'm gonna be looking at this hunch here, and I'm gonna make a kind of overall kind of silhouette, and then like thinking about the muscles for these hands, and and then now I'm gonna kind of make a tail for it, and maybe I want to have horns here. The lower the belly, the heavier it's gonna look. And then we go here into like spread out limbs. In some of the cases where negative space could help is here, when you kind of make it feel like, oh, this is not like a thick tail, right? So that is basically kind of like, I don't know, like thorny or something like that. So this is pretty much what I need to kind of start with. But of course, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop here. The last thing you want to do is to like your first good idea, because typically the first ideas that we have, they often happen to be not ours. It's kind of like this charge of what good movies that have resonated in our memory, or maybe good images that we're looking at. And also I want to make sure that even though it's already different from everything here, but I want to push myself to change things, and sort of not to stick to something that I'm familiar with. Okay, so Okay, so now that I got to this result, for me, maybe there are better candidates in the upper area here. By the way, if you hit caps lock on the keyboard in Photoshop, it's gonna toggle from the brush to a kind of a cross, so you might feel more comfortable drawing that way in many cases. Just make sure that you toggle between them. Again, it's caps lock. Because sometimes you're increasing the brush and you just don't see it and you feel like it's not really changing, meaning that if you increase the brush this much, but if you're on caps lock, you just think that it's just not there, but it's actually getting bigger. So it's a good feature to toggle through. Okay, so some of these thumbnails could be much better candidate than this one, but for me, I like some of the things that I'm envisioning in it, and I would like to pursue it further and just kind of polish it a little bit as an example, maybe of what would be the next step. But pretty much the same approach that I've done in my vehicles or robots concepting videos. So definitely. You can learn the same process that I might be able to carry through, but if you would like to, to stick to this example, I hope to keep on creating this, and who knows, maybe it goes all the way to ZBrush. That would be fun, right? But the same approach, you just kind of start really loosely, and the things that I really want to mention that they're really, in my opinion, important. Don't be afraid or ashamed, like this here, like what the hell is this? I have no idea. Really crazy. These are question marks, not a part of the design. This one here, it looks like origami, paper origami, right? This one sort of it got a little bit to the cliche, which is why I don't know. I like the horn here. The design is kind of really sick and pretty aggressive and all this. This is garbage. So what I'm saying, this is garbage too. What I'm saying is that this is garbage. So what I'm saying is that embrace your mistakes. And I only minimally erased, I think somewhere, look at these horns. Oh my God. I think erased here just a tiny bit, so I would be able to really keep the visuals of this horn in a way that I don't lose this new kind of exploration identity. Or I guess maybe here I erased. So this could be, for some creatures, this is not necessarily just a horn, but it could be a part of the skull. Anyhow, regardless, I would still be interested in just going and arranging these, just because I like to arrange things, and it's kind of nicer to look at regardless of those garbage results. Maybe I would just eliminate the garbage results and just align them together. But really, I would say two things. Try to stay without eraser, because once you start erasing, you're going to be like, oh my God, let me clean the lines, and you're going to find a lot of things to clean. And it is a lot of fun to clean these things, because suddenly it's going to feel like a lot more important than you thought, right? So I would definitely really be interested in this guy here. It's pretty interesting. So yeah, so the first thing is don't erase. Don't erase. And the second one is embrace your mistakes or errors. The third thing is, in many cases, like you noticed on this one here, when I forgot, maybe it's on a different layer, where I felt like, hold on, there's something interesting here, but I don't want to just give up and say, and also I don't want to spend like eternity on one of them just by tweaking whatsoever. It's really much better to just redo, right? So if you feel that there's something good that has kind of some valuable content, then just redo it and just kind of copy from the old one and like, oh, okay, maybe there's something interesting here. In my opinion, this is still some elements of this falls under the cliche kind of situation, maybe around this area here, but here is, for me, the way I'm envisioning it is like more like fins or something like that, but from the lower side, which could indicate that prehistorically, or before the time that we're seeing this animal, maybe it used to swim and now it's still evolving to something on land, right? So those give indication. And then we have this kind of skeletal structure here on the head. And I just really like, I'm really hopeful that I can have the time to just develop this one, because, you know, the sky is the limit. Once you kind of go into the refining stages, you can revamp the whole thing quite drastically. And I could maybe counter, for instance, just as an example, counter those fins from here to all the way here. Maybe it's inconsistent. Maybe I would do it here, but maybe it's too close to the neck. So it's really a lot of fun to kind of polish these things and tweak them and try to explore along the way. So yeah, the third thing that I would say is that you feel stuck, just redo, because you don't want to miss out on an opportunity just because you feel like, it's not good. You know, give it another shot. Every one of these, including this one, like, I mean, this is hopeless case. Even including this one here, when you redo it, there's something more there. Like, you kind of evolve it, and then you take every element and make it less silly, less ridiculous. I don't know, maybe you can make it as paper origami. So yeah, this is my approach. Again, just focus on staying loose. It's really key for you to stay flexible and free and having fun. Okay, so for me, during this process, once I start, and then I can just play music. I don't like to play music right away, because I want to have the initial stage to be complemented, to be contemplated first in a way that I know where I'm going. Because if I go and put, let's say, for instance, an aggressive soundtrack, then the creature is going to be not aggressive by my design, but aggressive by influence of the music. So that's why I like to set the pace first, and then I go from that stage. So I hope this is kind of helpful. If not, then I apologize for wasting your time.